The following podcast contains strong language.
Hello and welcome back to the Ciné Rambles podcast. You're listening to Nick.
And Andrew.
And we're back again with your weekly isolation film fix of discussions and analysis and other general messing about.
Yep.
Yeah. How are you doing then?
I'm alright. Hopefully we can hear each other.
Yeah. Hopefully you're going to have less audio dropouts.
Yep.
Every week we'll get this slightly better, hopefully.
Slightly.
Yeah, so I've got a couple of things I want to comment on based on last week's episode.
Okay.
So they were talking about Chernobyl, and there was a point I sort of forgot to make, and so I was editing last week's episode. I sort of suddenly remembered. So the way the core is shot, there's maybe like 2 or 3 shots in the entire series where we see like the core directly.
Yeah.
And it's very unclear exactly what it is. I'm going to use this word again. It's almost Lovecraftian. But like in the sense that, because you think about it, it is the core of a nuclear reactor is essentially like the heart of the sun. Not so much with fission reactors, but in the same, it's this ball of like cosmic energy that we've sort of harnessed and has created such great destruction. And when we see it, it's just this massive enigmatic light, and there's sort of shapes and form in it, but none that you could really discern as anything. And I find that's a really interesting way they shot it.
Yeah, because it's just like a glowing light, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's like, if you look at it, it's like, well, it's the core, but I can't make it out as anything. Like, it doesn't register as anything. Although, thinking on it further, the one thing I do consider is, because there's sort of this tangle of what I assume is like the graphite rods that have been warped, it looks a bit like Medusa's hair. And the way people look down at it and then get, the blast of radiation.
Instantly killed.
Well, I don't know how deliberate it is, but I like it as an analysis. And I just wanted to bring it up because I thought I was like, oh yeah, that's good. That's filmmaking.
Yeah. We've got a little bit of correspondence, if you want to move
have
on.
we?
We do.
Yeah.
Ross basically asked, why do we think British-made TV only has short form series, so like 6, 7, 8 episodes, as opposed to American TV, which has 20 plus episodes. And I think because, BBC, ITV, they've always got about like 1 hour slots, roughly. Whereas in American, it tends to be half an hour slots.
Yeah.
So half an hour, 20 minutes with adverts. So they make 23 or 25 20-minute episodes, which only works out to some amount of hours because I can't do the maths.
Well, I mean, basically, yes, the American half hour, which is about 22 minutes. So you'll have about 3 episodes of American television will be about the same as an hour of British, for example. Like, I don't know the full answer to this question, but I imagine the time slot does definitely have a part to play in it.
I also think, especially with the BBC, it's got to be allocation of budget as well.
Yeah.
Because if you look at, say, I don't know, Luther, for example, they give Luther the budget for, what that they've got, and then they just choose to make as many episodes as they can with that budget. So, that's why some of the Luther series are like 6 episodes, but some of the series are only 2.
Is that the reason why, or is that conjecture?
Well, that's conjecture.
Because I don't think the number of episodes is related to budget. I don't think it's like we've ran out of money this season, so it's
that's not entirely bullshit. Because I'm basing my facts off a documentary from the 1980s.
Ooh, you gonna name drop it?
Well, no, it was about Red Dwarf.
Okay.
About the making of Red Dwarf, and they were like talking about making the first and second series, I believe, and they were like, the number of episodes is entirely based on the amount of budget they got, so they could divide it up and say, oh, we need X amount of money for this, and they were like, okay, well, we'll have to cut an episode off or whatever.
Well, but then the first 2, and in fact up to the season 6 of Red Dwarf, all has 6 episodes per season, which is the standard for British TV. The interesting thing as well is, even if it's regardless of whether it's like half-hour comedy like Red Dwarf or it's an hour-long drama like Happy Valley or Luther, 6 still seems to be the default.
Yeah. I mean, that could just be a default thing. But it's got something to do with budget. So if you then look at something like Friends that had, millions of dollars thrown at it, and it's got, 20, 25 episodes per season.
Yeah.
I also think that American TV wants to run for as long as possible. Whereas British TV, they just tell a story and that's it. American TV is more about ratings and getting it out there, and producing as much as they possibly can.
Yeah, because it's
in some cases
it's all about advertisements. They're sort of just about that's why they have the sort of massive advert breaks built into the runtime. Yeah.
Yeah. But then obviously there's a lot to disagree with that. Not disagree with that. But, there's stuff like Game of Thrones, which is 10 episodes per season, and that's made by an American company, isn't it? So.
Although, of course, because that's HBO, that won't be based on adverts again.
Oh well, there you go. That's the answer to that question.
Well, it's interesting opening to the discussion.
Yeah.
I'm sure there is like a proper answer to it.
There probably is.
And if anyone knows the answer to it, feel free to email us at cinerambles@gmail.com.
What a plug.
Yeah. Is there any other correspondence, or is that it for this week?
Well, Ross also mentioned about Chernobyl, and he said he disagreed. He didn't think it sags in the middle, because he think there's a lot of good scenes in there. And he said it's a lot more like a horror film in the middle of the season. So you get
true, yeah.
The bits where they've got like the robot on the roof and the robot breaks, so they've got to send people in there for 60 seconds to chuck as much shit off the roof as they can.
That was a really good shot. Tense. That was also because that's basically shot as a one take, that scene as well.
Yeah,
handheld, which that was a really good moment. I mean, the middle episodes are by no means bad. I just think they're the weaker parts of it. Because like 1 is such a great opening, then 5 is such a great closing, when the rest just doesn't quite compare.
Well, that's why I sort of said, like, they're by no means bad. Like, they're still incredibly well made, and they're still, riveting, and you're on your edge of the seat.
Yeah, and each episode has its like stand-up moment as well, I'd say.
Yeah, I just think pacing-wise, they are the weakest.
Yeah.
Cool.
Glad we're in agreement.
That's that.
That's all our correspondence.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
And if you have any viewpoints or queries or reviews you'd like to email in, cinerambles@gmail.com is the address. Just one more time.
Christ. That's twice in under like 2 minutes, Nick.
Yeah, well, they've got to know. They've got to know how to contact us. Okay. So on to this week's field of streams. Now, we've decided from this week on we're going to reduce the number of titles we recommend each week, partially because we're running out of ideas, and the lockdown doesn't seem to be ending anytime soon, and secondly because it's taking up quite a large amount of our runtime. We want to be able to talk about more things.
I want to chat about other shit.
Yeah, exactly. We've been quite pushed for time past couple of episodes because we had to make way for field of streams, so we're cutting it down to maybe 2 titles a week. Maybe some weeks we'll just do 1. We'll see how it goes. But so this week it's just going to be 1 recommendation each. So Andrew, take it away.
Okay. So this week I'm going to recommend Hannibal.
Yay!
Yay.
Which I haven't seen.
No.
But yay anyway.
You should absolutely watch it. It's
one day I'll get it's on the list.
I think there's 3 seasons. I believe
they're
all on Netflix. It did get cancelled, which is a crime.
How close was it to finish it? Like, how far through the story?
I think they knew they were getting cancelled, so they did manage to wrap up season 3.
Okay.
So I mean, I haven't seen season 3, so I mean, I can't really comment on that. But as far as I'm aware, it wraps up quite nicely. So it's really, really good. It's very dark, very gruesome, very bloody.
Just how we like it.
Yeah. I just think So Mads Mikkelsen plays Hannibal Lecter, and it's one of the only cases, I think. Well, not one of the only cases, but in the remake, he plays Hannibal Lecter so well, like just as well as Anthony Hopkins, and it's just amazing.
But not better than.
I wouldn't say better than, because watching Anthony Hopkins is just incredible.
I take it you've not seen Manhunter from the 80s?
No.
Okay, I haven't either, but because of course that was, I think it was Brian Cox was playing Hannibal in that.
Yeah. But there's also this, because in the first season, Hannibal helps the police, catch various crimes and whatever, like he does in Silence of the Lambs. But obviously he's not under arrest. He's just a psychologist or whatever. But there's this incredible sense of dramatic and irony the whole time, which I think they do really, really well. Because there's no point, like, everyone knows who Hannibal Lecter is. So there's no point, like, beating around the bush, There's no point trying to pretend to the audience that we don't know that Hannibal's a fucking cannibal. So they do this excellent dramatic irony where he's a psychopathic cannibal who murders people, and it's just really, really, really well made. Lawrence Fishburne's in it as Jack Crawford, who's like the lead detective. He's brilliant in it. Again, very good. Yeah.
And then doesn't one of the series retread the plot of Red Dragon as well?
Yes.
I think I've heard that somewhere. Yeah. Or is it Hannibal? One of the two.
Well, there's 3 books, isn't there?
4. Because there's Silence of the Lambs, Red Dragon, Hannibal, and Hannibal Rising.
Oh, okay.
Which have each had their own film adaptations as well.
I believe this does Hannibal and Red Dragon, possibly.
Yeah, that sounds right. I think definitely Hannibal's not Hannibal. I think Red Dragon's definitely in there at some point.
Cool. Yeah,
cool.
Well, that's my recommendation. Go watch it. It's really good.
And where can people watch that?
It's on Netflix. All 3 seasons are on Netflix.
Good.
There was something I want to talk about with it, especially with you.
Okay.
Because there's some very weird censorship things in there.
Okay. Would I need to watch it first, or?
No, not necessarily. I'll just tell you some things. So they're it's a very gruesome show, right? They don't shy away from it showing any injury detail at all.
Yeah.
All the dead bodies are really fucked up and everything. But for some reason, and obviously it's to do with the network, they can't show like any nudity at all.
Oh, it's that old chestnut.
But it's so weird.
It seems to be. It's a thing over here as well.
Yeah.
I've never understood.
But there's a famous bit in the first season where there's a body hanging up and the body's naked, and the network wouldn't let them show it because the body was naked. So to get around it, they covered the body's naked butt with blood, and they were allowed to show that.
It's
just like, what?
It's so getting into censorship is so batshit. It's amazing how uncomfortable people are with sexuality. It never fails to surprise me just how I just don't get it.
Yeah, but I've watched the first season twice, right? Or I'm in my second watch of it at the moment. And something I really picked up on this time is how much they hide the nudity. Like, there's so in the first episode, there's a woman who's been cut open and she's been like skewered on these deer antlers, right? And it's like, as the camera pounds round, they like make sure her boobs are covered, and it's like she's literally dead, split in half. It's like, but why? You're completely.
But the real sin here are those breasts.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you're completely fine with showing her cut open body, like her guts and her lungs, But Christ, if we see a nipple, we're gonna hit the floor from our fainting.
See, what I don't get about censoring nudity, like why that's like the one thing that has to always be censored, is right. Put aside all the LGBT politics. If you think it's just male and female, and you're one of those two,
Yeah.
but of the two sort of naked bodies you can see, one of them you have yourself and see every day, and the other one's
Yeah.
not a secret either.
Yeah.
So why?
But also,
I don't understand why it's like, oh, you can't see a naked body. It's like, why? You're not hiding anything. We know what it is. Like,
yeah. But the other thing is, the series is already rated an 18.
yeah.
It's not like it's a 15 or, a 12 or whatever. It's like it's already an 18. Why? I just don't understand it. It's so weird.
Oh.
Anyway, what's your
Censorship.
field of streams?
So my field of streams this week is The Nice Guys, which is
It's a belter.
I guess buddy cop comedy essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Shane Black who wrote Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and Lethal Weapon, which I didn't realize until very recently.
Oh, really? I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
I've also never seen Lethal Weapon somehow. So
That's a great
That's
film.
on the list. Yeah,
Absolute classic.
but yeah, so it's Nice Guys in the same kind of vein as Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. So it's the same. It's like buddy cops and it's sort of film noir inflected mystery thriller, but very much baked in this really kind of dry, dark comedy. So the plot is essentially this porn star is murdered, quite spectacularly, and I think they're both brought on to investigate it, but by different parties, aren't they? And end up so it's
Yes.
Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe.
Yeah.
I think are both
Are they both private detectives?
yeah. But they end up teaming up to try and work out this mystery, which seems to have darker, greater conspiracies behind it to do with a car manufacturer and environmental concerns.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great mystery, but also it's just incredibly funny.
It's so funny.
There are
It's so
some-
good.
It's just
I
such
love
fantastic
Ryan Gosling
humour,
in that
yeah.
film is brilliant, I think.
Yeah, it's also like the way the comedy's done as well. It's very sort of deadpan in its way. Like
Yeah.
one of my favorite moments is when Ryan Gosling tries to break into a building and he like punches through the glass pane of a door.
Yeah, I was literally just going to bring that up.
Yeah.
Because it's like a really good satire of like other action films. isn't
Yeah,
it?
exactly. And it's like there's no ceremony to it. He just brings his hand out, just covered in blood, and then cut to an ambulance, and it's hilarious. But it's so sort of without bells and whistles. It just happens, and it just.
I also love, like, without spoiling anything, but by the end of the film, he's just completely exhausted and in tatters.
Also,
yeah.
another favourite is when they're in a hotel where they suspect something's going down. They take the lift up, open it, see there's a ridiculously violent shootout happening, and they step back into the lift and go straight down without a word. Oh.
Yeah. It's
Also,
it's a fantastic film.
the climate protesters pretending to be dead is my other favourite scene.
Oh my
And
god.
Ryan Gosling's trying to interview one, or like interrogate them for answers, and like, we're supposed to be dead. Stop talking to him. But yeah, that's available on Amazon Prime. So if you're a fan of anything like Lethal Weapon on Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, and or like just really dry, dark humour, definitely give it a watch. It's really great.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, so that's Field of Streams for this week.
Cool.
Now, Andrew,
Yeah.
I believe you have something to say about Sex and the City.
Well, right. So this was the thing. Something someone commented a while ago. I think it was Ross, actually. He asked us to review or talk about something that we aren't the intended audience for.
Okay, that's an interesting
Because
idea.
we often talk about things we like, things that we can, arguably are the intended audience for.
Yeah, things that are made for us, and by no surprise, we end up enjoying.
Yeah, exactly. However,
That is Field of Streams in a nutshell.
well, yeah, exactly. However, I've been watching it, but I've been catching the occasional episode of Sex and the City.
It's okay, you can admit it here. You're a die-hard
Something
fan.
which I am absolutely not the intended audience for. And, oh my god. I just I just don't understand it, like, at all. Like, people just don't talk like that, right? Firstly. So, Sex and the City, it's about 4 women in New York in the late 1990s and the early 2000s. I think it's 6 seasons.
You tell me.
And it's just baffling. It's just so weird. Like, people, all they ever fucking talk about is banging. And it's like...
To be fair, that is the title of the film, of the series. If they weren't talking about it, I'd feel shortchanged.
But it's like there is nothing else in their lives at all other than that. And it's like, also, they're completely fine with fucking cheating on people. And there's one of them like, oh, haha, I sleep with loads of married men. And it's like, that makes you an asshole. That is not a good quality.
But Andrew, it's female empowerment, because when a woman does it,
that's
it's fine.
Other thing. It's like they never have a conversation that isn't about a man, and it's like, I just don't understand this at all, because it's, firstly, it's supposed to be this relatable, thing, and it's got the 18 rating, so they can swear and show a bit of nudity, and it's like, it would be relatable, but these people speak like fucking aliens. They speak like they've learned English from a book, but from a sexual reproduction book, and that's the only book they've ever seen. And it's just weird. It just doesn't make any sense, and it's just so...
Is it always like slightly too frank, the way they talk?
But
like,
yeah,
too biological?
Would you, march up to your friend in a pub, in a public place, and just be like, I need to bang right now or I'm going to die? Really loudly.
Andrew, stop outing our conversations.
But it's just like, I don't know. But again, I'm not the target audience for this, but the way they talk to each other is just not how humans talk at all. And it's like there is nothing else in their lives at all about other than having sex. And it's just insane because you have no idea what they do for a job. Again, I've only seen random episodes, so that might be covered, but they never seemingly work ever. They're all absolutely minted. They can just be like frivolously go on a day trip somewhere with first class tickets on the plane, and it's like, oh yes, relatable. They're all fucking millionaires. How is that relatable? And it's just, they go out clubbing every single night. It's like, do you ever... it's just not relatable at all. People cannot live like this. I just don't understand it. And then there's this whole thing. I mean, the main woman, I can't remember her name, Sarah Jessica Parker.
Okay.
Yep.
Sure, go for it.
And she wants to go out with this bloke, who's like slightly older than her, and it's, this is like multiple series wide arc, and it's like she's got so many weird little problems about it. It's just like, I just don't care. you expect us to care, and it's like, oh man, it's so given, to and fro. It's like, oh, should I go out with him because he's old, but he's really rich? It's like, for fuck's sake, stop being so shallow. But like, get over yourself.
If she was a normal functioning adult in the real world, then she'd ask him out and see how it goes, and then dump him if it didn't go well.
Yeah. But also, there was the one episode, she is going out with this other bloke who's like in his mid-20s or something, and then this old bloke shows up, so she then dates them simultaneously and then gets annoyed when they both dump her. It's like, you're literally fucking cheating on them both. I don't understand. The other thing is, in another episode, she spends her entire plot, or her entire arc for this episode was wondering whether a man, there's a man who she thought was gay is marrying a woman, and she's like, her whole thing this episode is wondering how they can do that. It's like,
what?
Firstly, it's got nothing to fucking do with you.
How can they do what? Get married?
So the bloke she thought was gay is getting married to a woman, and she's like, maybe they're just marrying for the money or whatever, and it's like, oh, but they're both already rich. They don't need the money. And
Maybe
it's
he's
like,
not gay, and you're just
Yeah, well,
yeah.
that
Like,
turns out to be the resolution.
Oh, shock horror!
The resolution is, he actually found someone that he fell in love with. And it's like, what? Why? Why? The whole purpose of this plot was just completely inane homophobic bollocks.
So, the question I have is this series written or at least showrun by a woman, or is it a man?
I think it is written by a woman. I don't
that's
know
worse.
if the showrunner. But
So I was gonna make a point that maybe this is like, a male TV exec's been told, make a show that appeals to women. This is what a male business exec in Hollywood's idea of appealing to women is.
Well, the other
But it's
thing
written
is,
by a woman. I can't defend that.
yeah. But the other thing is, it's like they've obviously been told that they need a male audience as well, so they just have random female nudity all the time. But it doesn't serve any purpose in the plot. It's like just voyeuristic,
Or
And
just to
it's like-
arbitrarily get the 18 rating.
yeah. And
Just so
it's
they can
like-
be, look, we're a show called Sex in the City and we've got 18. Oh, must be raunchy.
Yeah.
Come and watch, boys.
And it's
Presumably,
like,
it's the other thing.
occasionally there's a pair of tits. It's like, but this is only voyeurism to try and get a male,
Yeah.
viewer.
Every time they think the male viewers have fallen asleep.
it's just baffling, and I have no idea why it was a massive success. Because it's just all completely inane bollocks about these four women, and it's just like none of them are that likable. They're all not relatable at all. I just don't understand how this show was as big as it was. But then again, exactly as my first point was, I'm not the target audience for this at all. Like, nowhere close to it. So,
Well, the key question is, are you going to keep watching?
no. Well, I mean, no. But I mean, if it's on TV, I might watch it just because sometimes the plots are so completely insane that it might be worth watching so I can talk about it on air.
Maybe this will be a new segment where we go and watch something that's very much not for us and then rant about the results. Thank you, Ross.
Yeah, there you go. Well, the other thing is, on IMDb, if you look on all the episode ratings, not a single episode is rated below 7.
Right. What's the sort of highest rated?
The highest is the last episode ever, which was
Because I'm
rated
glad it ended.
that's rated an 8.8.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, Breaking Bad better watch out with its 10 rated Ozymandias. Sex and
Yeah.
City's coming to get you.
But other than that, it's like they're all just 7s roughly. I think there's only 3 episodes that break the 8 barrier. But yeah, it's weird because it isn't right. It isn't bad. It's just baffling.
But you don't think it's a bad show then?
Well, it's not bad. It's just very, very mediocre. It's very
Right.
run of the mill.
Is it just so surface level? Like, it's just,
Yeah. But all the
like a
characters
puddle.
are so shallow, and it's every single episode is basically the same. It's like, will I bang this dude? I've got some apprehensions about this dude. I bang this dude. I don't like him anymore. I'm gonna dump him. It's like, okay then.
riveting stuff.
Yeah. Just fucking hell. Just don't understand why it exists half the time.
Was that on HBO?
Yeah, it was.
There's your answer.
Yeah. Well, so something else I'm not the target audience for at all, which actually, now thinking about it, falls for a lot of the same problems as Sex and the City does, is Hustlers.
Okay.
Which is a 2018 film based on a true story about basically a bunch of strippers get hit hard by the
Where's this sentence
global
going?
market by the global market crash of 2008.
Okay.
So basically, they
You
decide
say they're
to
getting
run
fucked hard by the market crash.
they decide to run a scam, where essentially they meet a client, they drug them, and then max out their credit card, and then dump them somewhere. And it's like the client then's like, oh, I can't remember what happened. And when they phone them back up, they're like, oh yeah, you just had a really good time at the strip club. That's why you just spent $500. Then obviously they start taking more and more money, whatever.
Yeah. I was going to say, for us, like essentially what it sounds like a heist film, $500 is not a great jackpot.
No, yeah. So they start taking more and more money.
Okay.
So eventually they're like taking 50 grand per person, and then 100 grand or whatever. And eventually they get caught. And that's essentially the whole plot. And it's not interesting. So
that's it.
I mean, that's literally it.
We put that on the poster. It's not interesting. Andrew Jones, Ciné Rambles.
Well, right. So the problem is there's no stakes. So obviously, I mean, I say that the whole time they could get caught by the police. Like, that's the overlaying thing. But there's no cat and mouse with the police. There's no, they've accidentally robbed the wrong person who now wants to kill them or whatever. There's nothing. It's literally they are really successful right up until the point where they get caught by someone, and that's it. And then it ends.
Are there any repercussions at all? Any epilogue?
Well, yeah, even the punishment that they receive. So the main lead woman, who's played by Jennifer Lopez, J-Lo,
right.
Yeah. Her character just gets 5 years on bail, so she doesn't even go to jail for it.
Oh.
It's like, so the resolution is just terrible. It's like she basically got away with it, stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars because her repercussions are so light. It's like, well, whatever. The film just sort of ends as well. It's like, oh yeah, she got caught. Okay, that's
roll
it.
credits.
Yeah, it's just so, I don't know. It's just so nothingy. I feel like they wanted a female empowering story that was based on a true thing. Found this and just slapped it together, and it's like, well, just unfortunately, the heist thing that they were pulling, it just wasn't that interesting.
But then even then, like,
go on.
I was gonna say, well, most stories, a lot of Hollywood films are like based on real events. But the point is, they spice them up a bit. They manipulate it to be interesting on the big screen.
Yeah.
So like,
well, even this, I feel like they tried really hard to spice it up, but there's just so little they could do without just completely outright lying.
But then, it's as long as it's not like it. I mean, documentaries, different subject, but refers to last week's episode. But if otherwise, if it's a fictional like entertainment film, no one cares that much about how accurate it is. And if his real story is not good enough to work on screen as a piece of entertainment, then make shit up. Make it. I would rather watch something that I know isn't real, but is at least entertaining, than something that's very realistic but dull because nothing's happening.
Yeah.
Because real life isn't like the films,
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's weird. It was okay. Like, it's not bad, but it's just so nothingy. It's like, whatever. And again, it had that same problem that I think Sex and the City does, where it's like, oh, we need some attraction for the male viewers. So the first 30 minutes is literally just a strip club scene. It's like, okay, this is weird. And also it's got loads of famous people in it. Like Jennifer Lopez, obviously. Yeah, sort of. So, I mean, Cardi B's in it.
Is that a singer?
Yep.
Okay.
She's famous, apparently. Again, I didn't know anyone who was in it, but it's got Usher. Usher, he's a man. He's in it. Is he
a rapper?
Possibly.
There are listeners screaming at us at the moment.
Yeah.
You're all going to learn very quickly. I have no knowledge of celebrities whatsoever.
But yeah, so there's even a bit, like, just to show you how nothing he is, there's a bit where they So they drug one of their clients or whatever. So they take him back to his house, and he's really drunk. He's drugged up or whatever. And he runs off his balcony trying to jump into the pool, but just falls flat on his face on the side of the pool. So he just hits the deck.
So he dies?
No, so he only falls like 1 or 2 stories or whatever.
Oh. I mean,
but he's out cold and he's bleeding, and
I feel like he'd smash his head in.
Well, yeah, that's what I was assuming. I was like, oh shit, this guy's dead. Now it's gonna get interesting, right?
So how wrong you were.
How wrong I was. I was like, oh, finally, they're ranking up the stakes. They're like, oh, it's a casualty. It's like, fucking hell, right? It's getting serious. No, they just take him to the hospital. He's completely fine. They never hear from him again. Yeah, no questions asked. That's it. It's just like, okay, why?
Might have to eat the rest of his meals for a tube, but yeah, fine.
Yep,
he's all good.
There's no guilt. Doesn't matter.
He's okay, folks.
Yeah. Well, I was just like, when I saw that, and after I watched it, I was like, compare that to Breaking Bad, right? Just for
It's
something...
an interesting comparison.
Well, no. So the reason I want to compare them, because it is someone getting more, like, deeper and deeper into the crime world and getting more exposed to it, and it's getting more and more fucked up, right? Or at least in Breaking Bad, that's the thing. So, in Breaking Bad, within the first, I can't remember, 4 or 5 episodes, Walt has to kill someone.
Oh yeah, we're in like the first...
Is that first 2 episodes?
2 or 3, yeah.
Yeah.
3rd episode, I think it is.
3rd episode. Yeah, he literally has to kill someone, because if he doesn't kill him, he's going to get discovered, he's going to get killed himself. I was like, that's a similar runtime, right? And it just gets worse and worse and worse for Walt. But there's also so much of this cat and mouse with Hank, with the police, like, oh, they're always one step behind, and he's got to do all this to get away with it, and blah, 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 blah. Whereas in Hustlers, the police aren't one step behind. The police haven't even left yet. They have no idea what's going on. The only reason they managed to find him is because one of the strickers basically feels bad about it and dobs him then. It's like, okay,
great. What a thrilling climax.
Yeah. This is also, for some really weird reason, the guy that also dobs them in is who takes it to the police. They censor his name, like literally bleep it out, and it was really, really weird and unexpected.
What?
They're like, oh yes, it's old Jeffrey. It's like, what?
Was he supposed to be a real person?
Yeah, well, it's based on a true story, innit?
But why'd they change the names?
Yeah,
What?
exactly. But they just decide to use his first name and bleep out his last name. It's so strange.
Was this
so
film written by an anemone? What?
Yeah, well, there you go. That's something else I wasn't intended audience for, and I didn't really like it. It's just so confusing.
This is the future of Ciné Rambles, just us watching stuff not made for us and going, it's a bit shit.
Yep. But
thanks, Ross.
Yeah, cheers, Ross. But it's just, I don't know, there was just so many problems with it. But I just feel like they could have spiced it up so much more than they did. It's okay, why?
That sounds like just I guess the writer, maybe the directors put like sub-zero effort in. Like, I mean, there's
Again,
so many
like
simple ways to make
that.
But like the story, it's clearly the story is the problem.
Yeah,
isn't it?
the story is the issue.
But like, it's not even difficult to make something like that exciting, and like fudge the facts a bit. Like, it's not difficult, really.
I just think having any sort of police presence at all would have helped it. Because
like,
if there was this sense of cat and mouse, it would have had any sort of tension and it would be fine, instead of it just having zero tension and then just ending.
Yeah, like what if one of their victims had a connection to the police, and then that brings them in.
But even if
like,
that guy had
like
died, then that would be, something.
Yeah. Or just one person reports to the police like, okay, well, apparently I spent $1,000 last night, but I don't think I would. Can you investigate it, please? Like,
Well, that's
just
basically how they get caught. So a guy says that, and the police are like, no. And then the guy records his phone call with the stripper who's like, oh, yeah, we scammed you. And then he shows that to the police, and that's it. That's how it ends.
such a
Spoilers.
nothing ending, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
But yeah, my point is that there's so many ways you could spice that up. There's so many like ways, like methods to do it, like inroads to making a more interesting side to it. And the fact they don't
so
just seems
little
so
punishment. It's
yeah.
like, whatever, doesn't matter. Yeah. Well, there you go. That's that.
Yeah. So, would you recommend Hustlers?
Nah.
Nah.
Cool.
Okay. So to finish today's episode, we're going to talk about a recent Netflix release called The Platform, which is sort of I think it was a Spanish science fiction film.
Yeah. It's Spanish.
Yeah. So yeah, this will be a spoiler corner. So if you haven't seen it yet, do skip ahead now. There'll be links on YouTube on. Because I'm going to be discussing, I believe, sort of the message of it.
Yeah, well, I want to talk about the end, because I've got a theory, and well, you said you didn't get very much out of it.
Well, okay. So just in case anyone hasn't seen it and doesn't care about spoilers or whatever. So basically, the concept of the platform is, it's essentially there's vertical prison. On each level, there's two people, there's two inmates, and once a day, this platform full of like laden with food descends through the floors, and basically each floor has like I think 2 minutes to help themselves as much as they can or want of it before it moves down. So the people on the top levels get first pick and get whatever they like, but by the time you're on the 50th level, there's maybe only a few bits of scraps left, and by like the 90th level, whatever, there's literally no food left, and these floors go down for like 250 floors or whatever. Yeah. And that's basically the main conceit of this film is this one inmate who keeps moving between floors each month, and we see through his perspective what each sort of like band is like, so to speak. So that's the premise. I mean, my main problem with the film is that it's such an on the nose metaphor with no
capitalism
and world hunger. It's like, look, all the people who by random chance are at the top get all the food they want, and they don't care about anyone below them, and all the people below them get scraps and starve to death. And it's like, yes, well done. Have you got anything else to say? No? Oh, okay then. Like it just felt like it was an interesting idea, but it was so on the nose. I think for the runtime, if it was like a 10 or 30 minutes short, it could work. Because for that sort of depth and the complexity of a metaphor, it needed a shorter span. But for a feature, I felt like it just needed to do more with it. Like it just didn't plumb the depths enough.
It wasn't actually very long, was it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a pacing issue. It's just literally the metaphor itself isn't complex or interesting enough to, for a film that length. It feels like in that time it should do more with it, was my problem.
So that's what I thought was going to happen at the end. I thought there would be like another half an hour left of him trying to... Because, the description on Netflix it gives is like... the prisoners aren't happy, a revolution is at hand. And I was like, oh, okay, so the last half an hour we're going to have him going back up right to the top and, breaking out or killing some people or being like, this is fucking wrong, whatever.
Yeah.
But then it just ended. I was like, oh, okay. It felt like it was missing a, I don't know, some sort of resolution.
Yeah.
Because they're like showing that this is terrible or whatever, but it's not. They don't do anything about it.
Well, the thing is, it's got quite an open ending, which I think is supposed to be open to interpretation. But to be honest, I mean, what was your sort of interpretation of it?
So there's the whole thing about. So the climax of the film is the main character and his current cellmate are. They're on level 6, I think it is.
Yeah, they're like very near the top.
So when their platform comes down, they're going to jump on it, take it all the way down, and make sure there's enough food for everyone to eat.
they've rationed it out
That's
into the portion. Yeah.
So the thing is, the crux is like there is enough food for everyone, but only if people eat what they need.
Oh wow, it's almost like a metaphor.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that is exactly.
Exactly. No, that's exactly why I didn't. Yeah, but go on.
Yeah. So they jump on the platform and they sail it all the way down, and give people only a small portion of.
Yeah. And they also decide to preserve this one item, the panna cotta.
Yeah. So the panna cotta.
And the method is they'll send it back up, and it'll be a message to the above that. Well, it's supposed to convey that they won't take this anymore. But I mean, it's quite a cryptic message, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's supposed to show like solidarity, that like everyone is somehow united against the thing. But I don't know. It seems a bit contrived.
Well, so then I've got a little theory about this.
Okay.
Right? So when they get to the final floor, and it's like level 330, so there's like another 80 floors more than they thought there was.
Yeah.
They get down to the level and they find this little girl, who's been elusive or whatever, and her mum's been looking for her, whatever. And they're like, "Oh, give her the panna cotta because there's exactly enough food for everyone."
Yeah.
And the other guy's like, "Oh no, the panna cotta is the message." And they're like, "Oh, okay, don't worry. This little girl can be the message because she'll go back." And then, because apparently no under 16s are allowed in the hole or the pit, or whatever it's called.
Yeah, the pit, I think was called. Yeah.
And then he descends down, and it's like pure black. There's only the light from above him. And then he gets off, and he's got his ghost friend, and they walk off, and then it ends.
Yeah.
And I was like, "What?"
So I
thought he was going to ride it up with her and then kill some fools.
Yeah, or at the very least, like sort of cut to black as he reaches the top layer, and it's like, what happens then? But I assume the idea is because it's with this friend who died earlier. So I assume he's died and walked off into the afterlife. It's like, well, what killed you?
Yeah. Well, because that's what I think is that the little girl, wasn't real. Because if you remember, just before the climax, there's a scene of the inspector who inspects all this 5-star food before it goes on the platform.
Right.
There's a scene of him being like, there's a hair in the panna cotta, and firing someone because there's a hair in the panna cotta because the panna cotta is imperfect.
Yeah.
Whatever. So I feel like, I mean, this was just my interpretation of it. It's that the girl wasn't there, and that they did send up the panna cotta. And then my assumption was that these people at the very top who are supplying this food or whatever are like so obnoxious that they think the reason the people wouldn't eat it is because it had a hair in it, not because it's a message or whatever. That was my assumption. There was another slight on the nose metaphor for the 1%.
Yeah, misreading the sort of the signs. Yeah. Well, I've seen other theories to that sort of extent as well. But then, how does the girl link into that?
Yeah.
Because then, from their perspective, they should have just sent up the panna cotta and be like, "Oh, nothing's happened."
Yeah. I don't know. I enjoyed the film when I watched it.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't not enjoy it. It's the problem is because its entire purpose is the metaphor. And there's sort of almost nothing else to it besides that. Yeah, so when that's all that's holding up your film, and it's that, you just need something else with your metaphor. You can't just drink straight. Well, you can drink straight scotch, but you've got to have something. You've got to mix your metaphor with something. You've got to dilute it. That's the point of art: is to put your metaphor in something rather than just simply throw it at someone.
Yeah.
For example, I mean, there was cannibalism and stuff as a theme earlier on. I thought they'd do more with that.
Yeah, I thought they'd do more than that.
That was quite a big card to pull out early on and then not use again. Like that's quite an end game kind of card, cannibalism.
Yeah. Well, the other thing was I thought like they were going to go further with the metaphor. So that how he opts to go in there.
Yeah.
For 6 months, and at the end of it he'll get a diploma or whatever.
Yeah.
What I thought they were going to do is, kills 2 or 3 people while he's in there because he has to survive. And it's like, I thought my assumption would be that there would be a scene where his sentence was getting prolonged because
he now committed murder and then
to survive. I thought they'd go for that route to further this metaphor and make more of it, but they didn't. So it's interesting to see that they never showed anyone getting out.
There's basically no sign of the outside world at all.
Which I quite liked because it's very claustrophobic, isn't it?
And I think giving it outside a context would probably have only damaged the film, and sort of because there's sort of a certain purity of it all happening with it, only seeing within this twisted world. But the
only sort of outside shots, or outside the cells at least, is his application and then the food preparation.
Which will still be in the same complex and stuff.
It was okay.
It was fine. It was just nothing.
It was just fine. Amazing. It wasn't amazing.
Nothing, but like honestly, nothing amazing, nothing bad. It just wasn't. It just needed to either be a short or do more with its idea, because it's not a bad idea. It's just very on the nose and not. It just doesn't have that complexity to really make it something special and interesting.
There's not enough substance there.
No,
I feel like they needed a bit more. I mean, I was. It could have been, having the revolution or whatever. I thought that would be the final act, and I was quite interested to hear that.
You sort of blue balls by it then.
Well, I don't know. Because I still enjoyed it, and I thought the ending was interesting because it's so open to interpretation. I was like, that's an interesting way of doing it. Because I feel like this is the type of film that you can theorize a lot about it, and there is a lot you can talk about it, but I don't know. I think it'll be forgotten.
But that's the thing, in terms of theorizing it, do you have a problem with having such an on-the-nose metaphor? Is there's very little wiggle room for interpretation, because it's very clear what interpretation is. Like, it's so heavy-handed with it, it's like you can't mistake it for anything else. Which, that's the... Unlike, say, with Tiger King, how we're having all these different ideas about it and how we read it in different ways, because it has that sort of interpretation to it, and that sort of ability to be more... to leave stuff to the viewer. Well, this is so, like, this is what we're talking about. This is what, it's so clear. You don't, you talk to someone, like, what do you think it was about? World hunger and the 1%. What do you think it was about? World hunger and the 1%. Nice, let's move on. Like, there's just not... That's the other flaw with having such a sort of shallow metaphor, but yeah, that's fine.
Well, there you go.
Okay.
What's interesting to me is, like, if the food runs out at, 70 they were at, weren't they, when the food ran out?
About that. Certainly under 100.
And there's 300 things there, which means like 6 or 70-80% of the people would just die every month. So it's like, how do they have enough people to fill these up?
That's the thing, because surely
it's like
I mean, I know obviously they get new inmates in every month and stuff, but you'd think, like, so many would be the rate at which they'd be dying. You'd think every time they shuffle it, it'd be like, we have some empty gaps on floor 1.
Especially as, like, how hard they made it out to get in. He's got the whole application thing, and he's like, "Oh, have I been accepted?" And she's like, "Oh, not yet." He's like, "Oh, have I been accepted now?" And she's like, "Oh, not yet." It's like, there must be so many empty cells.
You'd think, considering that they'd have to fill it with normal prisoners anyway. Firstly, that there's an application process. Like, if you don't, the proportion of people who are actually volunteering to go into prison, like, would there be much competition for that, really? Especially if they're that low on people. It would be like, application, no, sorry, if you want to go in, just go in, mate.
Yeah. I think you're right. It's too on the nose.
Yeah. Okay, so have we got anything else to say?
I do, actually. I've remembered there's another correspondence bit. Basically, Ross, that old guy, that old geezer,
that old geezer,
was mentioning about when we were talking about Inglourious Basterds, he was like, "Oh, I didn't realize you were such a big Hitler supporter or whatever," because I said it was bad that Hitler was killed. Didn't mean that. just to make it clear.
Didn't realize you'd have to clarify that you're not a Hitler supporter.
Yeah, exactly.
Talking about interpretation.
What I meant was they shouldn't have killed Hitler in that way, because that isn't what happened in real life. And I think it's very disrespectful that the way they represent his death, just shooting him in the face over and over again, is disrespectful to the millions and millions of people who were killed because of him. And like that didn't happen in real life. And if it did, millions of those people would still be alive, but they're not, because that didn't happen. Do you know what I mean? Like it's such a. I'm not against killing Hitler. Like there's, in Jojo Rabbit, there's the scene where he's like, "Oh, fuck off Hitler," and
but then that's not Hitler, is it? That's his imaginary friend.
That's his imagination. It's fine, and I'm fine with the satire, but it's not satirical. It's just for, look at this, we're shooting Hitler in the face. So I feel like it's just an insult to the suffering and the huge upheaval and murder and genocide of millions of people that actually happened in the real world. I just feel like it's so insensitive.
But could you not argue,
I don't know.
Is there a catharsis in seeing, like, say if you were a Jewish person or, say, homosexual, to then watch Inglourious Basterds and see this sort of this great this image of a person who's persecuted your people then be killed in a way?
Yeah.
Like, was that? Do you reckon there's no catharsis there for those kind of people then?
Yeah, I suppose. I don't know.
Like, because the argument is
there
with
can be catharsis in other things. And I've got no problem with it being a satire. There's things like Kung Fury. Have you heard of that?
I have. I've not seen it, but I've been planning to.
Yeah, that's like, got Hitler being a martial arts expert and stupid stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's really stupid, but it's satirical. Do you know what I mean? Like, whereas this is like having this semblance of not satire. It's like,
so your grievance isn't with the scene itself, but more how it gels with the rest of the film. It is a tonal problem, really. Okay.
Yeah, it's a tonal problem and how it's presented. Because if they had them, I've got no problem with alternate history. That if they had like a scene of someone killing Hitler, it would be fine. Like, this is a really random aside, but the game Sniper Elite 4.
I haven't played it, but I know it exists.
The game Sniper Elite 4, you kill Hitler, you assassinate Hitler.
Right.
And that's fine. Like, I've not got a problem with that. But that's not subtle, obviously, but it's not presented in such a way as it's completely, tonally inconsistent and just because it doesn't feel like he's killing Hitler because he is being like, oh, this is payback for all the bad stuff. I feel like he's killing Hitler for the shock value and being like, oh, look at this, look what I've pulled off. I'm managed to kill Hitler.
Okay.
I just don't like Tarantino.
So you think it's basically more, so you think the way it's presented is more like masturbatory than it is like sort of respectful? Probably isn't the right word either, but like satirical, I guess.
But yes.
Okay, that's a fair assumption. Yeah.
Because I don't think it's Tarantino being like, oh, finally we can get some satisfaction or cathartic, being cathartic by showing scenes of killing Hitler. I think it's wanking himself off, being like, look, I've killed Hitler, look at this, it's amazing. It's just, torture porn, him being shot in the face over and over again. I just feel like it's Tarantino being a cock, and completely disrespectful.
Yeah. Okay.
if you know what I mean.
I can see your point a bit more now.
Yeah. I don't know.
So, what are your thoughts on
It's
Mega Hitler
interesting.
from Wolfenstein?
Again, like that kind of thing, like with Wolfenstein, which is a game entirely about walking around killing Nazis, isn't it?
Yeah, and in quite a sort of tongue-in-cheek alternate history way.
Yeah.
Like in Wolfenstein: The New Order, there's literally a Nazi moon base, which obviously is sort of like sort of a meme for decades, and then they actually you go to it in the game and shoot Nazis on the moon. So that's very much a sort of a tongue-in-cheek sort of alternate history kind of thing.
I feel like it works better in video games, the alternate history sort of thing.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Oh. I was saying for an interesting sort of educated opinion.
I've got a point. I feel like because it's your own action, but you can walk around killing Nazis, and that's fine. But it's because you feel like it's you doing it, if you know what I mean. Whereas
in Bastards, it's Tarantino doing it.
It's watching Tarantino doing it, but it's also watching him, jacking off to it.
Yeah,
it's the feeling I get behind it. I feel like, but I've literally just said this. I don't think he's doing it out trying to get your own back or whatever. I feel like he's doing it because he wants to have that shock value, be the most out there.
He wants to provoke people rather than make... Yeah.
He wants to do it because he wants to provoke them and make him look really out there and make him be like, oh yeah, I was the one who killed Hitler on screen in a multi-million mega production, It's like, just fuck off.
Fuck off, Tarantino. I can agree with that message.
I just think he's a bit of a wanker.
He is.
I feel like he's so up his own arse. I don't know. Anyway, that's enough of that.
Yeah. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this week's episode of Ciné Rambles. You've been listening to Nick.
And Andrew.
You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/CinéRamblesOfficial, and you can follow us on Twitter at Ciné Rambles. And for more content, you can read the blog over at cinerambles.blogspot.com. And as always, if you'd like to send in any reviews, any thoughts, anything else you'd like us to talk on the show, you can email us at cinerambles@gmail.com.
Anything. Please, we're desperate.
Have you got any final remarks then?
Yeah, Nick, have sex with me right now or I'm gonna die.
Well, you heard him, guy. We're going to end the podcast. Goodbye.
Bye.